Hi class, welcome back to another lesson on programming with Mr. Phillips. Today we're going to look at for loops. This should be fairly familiar as I believe we've done this not too long ago, but we'll cover it again just to make sure we've got it nailed down. So, do it now questions in your books or on a piece of paper, whatever suits you. Remember this is a video so you can pause it and rewind at any time. Write the questions out. Why do we use an if statement? How do we start an if statement? And then how do we end an if statement? If you want to try these properly, give yourselves 2 or 3 minutes to have a think about it, or think back to last lesson, and then we will move on to the answers. So the answer to the questions, we use an if statement when we need to make a choice. For example, if age is greater than 16, then you can buy a lottery ticket or something like that. And to end an if statement, simply end if. Today's lesson objectives are to develop an understanding of what a loop is and what it is used for, and then to write a simple program that includes one or more loops. Because you can embed loops inside other loops, it gets quite complicated, but it can be done and is necessary occasionally. The point of the lesson though, using for loops to repeat tasks or to cut down the amount of code required for repetitive tasks. What is a for loop? The definition is they are statements that are used in a loop and they carry out tasks as many times as you tell them to. That's the key for a for loop, is it carries out the task for a specific number of times. Now you don't necessarily put in you're going to do something 10 times, you don't necessarily say do it 50 times, but you might say do it for as many times as you need until you reach 100 or something like that. This may seem familiar. A quick example of a for loop that Bill Gates uses, and you move the zombie to the flower. So you can, possible moves are move forward 1 or turn right. So if you can't turn right, you move forward 1. Then again, the check, turn, if you can't turn right, move forward 1, etc, etc. So the move list would look something like move forward, turn right, move forward, turn right, and so on. And if obviously it was a bigger maze, it'd be a lot more lines of code. You could, however, simply use 5 lines, where inside the brackets, the programs, not just Visual Basic that we've been using, Python would use the same, JavaScript, C#, any of these programming languages would allow you to repeat a task just by putting a value inside the brackets. If you can remember how to do this one, I do believe we did this in a lesson. If you have access to the online Visual Basic editor, feel free to type this in and run it again just to refresh your memory what it is. For everyone else playing at home, I'm just going to wait a couple of seconds and then I'm going to tell you what it does anyway. So the power of for loop, what this will do is it will count from 1 to 5. That's it basically. It sets a variable called index as a number, a whole number, an integer, and it says count from 1 to 5, and that's it basically. So your task is to have a go asking someone their favourite food, or their favourite football team, or their favourite video game, or something that they like, and ask them how many times you want to print it out, and then get the program to run. There's an example of code you can use on the right hand side. If you are feeling particularly adventurous, maybe look it up on the internet, Visual Basic, how to repeat tasks, feel free. If you want to do the challenge question, ask again favourite food or favourite colour or something, just to create some sort of weird sounding sentence basically. It also would require you to be printing out the variable as well, which should be just a nice little task to be able to do. Now, quiz time at the end of the lesson. Obviously, you're not going to be able to do it all in 5 minutes, so you'll hopefully have had to pause this and maybe go back and check a couple of times. So see if you can write the code out. How old are you? What code do we need in Visual Basic to say the phrase, how old are you? And then write the code to how you would output their age. That would also mean in number 1, there's an additional step there to how you actually store the information. If you did manage to write it, you'll be looking for something like console right line, open brackets, open speech marks, how old are you, and close speech marks, close brackets. And to print it, or to store the information, you'd put age equals console.readline. And then to output it, you would do console.writeline. And then without the speech marks, but inside the brackets, you just put age. Just to recap then, at the end of the lesson, what we've tried to do in this lesson, we've tried to understand what a loop is and what we use it for. And then we've tried to do a little program. Now hopefully You'll also will have read through the BBC Bitesize section on iteration. That's the programming term for when we use loops. And also the Craig and Dave video on YouTube. So if you've watched those, hopefully, before you watch this video, they made a bit more sense and didn't really require me to spend ages and ages explaining what loops are. But feel free to watch them again if anything's unclear, and then have a go at the exercises. And take care. Thanks for listening. Bye.